I want to show you something. By the way, when I teach students how to create acronyms and how to write them, it usually works really well when you do this when you're done. I always kind of encourage that, and that is to draw a box around it so that the actual acronym kind of pops off the page. It just makes it a little easier to remember. Well, if you were required on your test in geography, among other things, to write down the names of the 5 Great Lakes, and you got to that question and you thought, okay, I studied that. I know that was in my notes or in my book, and I know I had it somewhere, and you're trying to just find one of the lakes here, one back here, and you're just searching for them. That's a lot of pressure on a test. But if you've memorized this, which just takes a little practice, then when the test comes, all you should have to do is write these 5 letters, and everything else should just come spilling out of your brain. Acronyms work well for people because each one of the letters is kind of like a little hook that you hang a word on. And so it tends to, even under a nervous type of situation on a test, it all seems to come back to a person more than if they just stared at the names and hoped that they would remember them. Okay, so again, this is a word, the word homes, made up of first letters of other words. The second one, I think we have several people in here who probably will recognize this one. I don't know if anyone knew that from your previous experience, but this one is pretty common. Okay? Rainbow. Yeah, right. So these are the colors of the rainbow. When would you ever need to know that? Well, I guess if you took a rainbow class. Geology, you know, whatever. Okay? And so this is a man's name, right? Roy G. Biv, even though there is no man with that name. I don't think there's ever been a man with that name, but you can pronounce it like a name, and it's simple and easy to remember. Now, this is a class participation moment, so even if you've never seen this before, I want you to try to see if you can come up with these. Everybody should know the first 5. After that, it gets a little harder. So what's this one?
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet.
That's very impressive. Sometimes it gets so quiet when I get to the I. Indigo and violet, those are a little more obscure. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue are very, easy. Well, if you memorize this and you just practice it a few times, you would never forget it. And there may never be a time in your life where you need to know the 7 colors of the rainbow, but if you ever do, now you know. Okay, so that's a second one. And then my third example of acronyms is my favorite one ever. And other than 1 or 2 people in here who I know would remember this, everybody else would never know this, and that's because I made it up. So it's not in a book anywhere or whatever else, I made it up. And so I want to teach this to you backwards, and here's the way I'll say it. Several years ago, I had a student who came to me in a real panic. She said, I have a test next week, I have so much to memorize, I'm going to forget a lot of it. Can you help me? And I said, okay, what's the class? And when she told me, I got nervous for her. She said, it's anatomy. I don't know if you've ever taken anatomy. That's scary, okay? There's a lot of stuff to remember, and it just kills your brain trying to just memorize them. I said, what part do you need help with in particular? She said, well, everything. But one thing that I'm especially worried about is this. My teacher told us that one of the things we have to memorize for the test is the 10 organ systems in the human body. And I said, well, why are you worried about that more than some other things? And she said, because of the way it's going to be asked. And I said,